Hi, and welcome to this month's edition of SIGG'S on the Spring 48th Grade Center on Demand Network, where it's all academic all the time. This SIGG'S on is very important, as our topic this time is going to be, what is challenge science like in 8th grade? What are the requirements? What is the workload? And, a little bit of a background history about the course. So here today, we ask that you please, parents and kids of 7th graders that are coming in the 8th grade next year for the 2021-22 school year, we please that you watch this in its entirety. It's going to be a very important decision going forward. So that being said, if you have any questions when you're done watching this video, please contact your child's guidance counselor, Ms. Cooper or Mr. Lemuel. So that being said, my name is Mr. Parsi. I'm one of the science teachers here at the 8th grade center, and along with us, as always, the one and only principal of Springford's only Blue Ribbon School, Dr. SIGG'S. Dr. SIGG'S, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Mr. Parsi, and I want to thank you and thank our parents for watching our video. If you are watching this video, what that means is you have received basically a 3-page letter from us, and basically inviting you to enroll in our challenge science course. And part of your homework, if you will, your responsibility to begin that process is to watch this video. So we appreciate you doing that. Okay. As you said, Mr. Parsia, it's an important decision. And what we want to do is we want to make sure that parents and students have the honest background of what's going on. And that is truly our goal here right now. One of the things I heard a couple of times is, when you're putting together a letter like this, or you're putting together a video like this, right? It seems to be negative, and we're trying to, dissuade people from participating in challenge science. Nothing could be further from the truth. Okay, what we want to make sure is that everybody is aware of really what you're getting into. Okay, and we want to give that to you all out front so that everybody understands it. You can sit down as a family and talk it through. Okay, and make the best decision for your child at this time. One of the things I want to make sure that we get out of the way right off the top, because this is going to kind of be a recurring theme throughout our conversation, is this. Okay, if you take challenge science in 8th grade, there is no additional benefit for students when they are preparing and scheduling your child for 9th grade. Okay, there are 3 options for students when they go to 9th grade. They have honors bio, they have honors earth science, and earth science. Those are the 3 options, and those are the only 3. So whether you take challenge science or you take the traditional science, you'll still be afforded the opportunity, if you earn the prerequisite grades, okay, in our 8th grade science or challenge science, to take honors biology. You will be able to do that.
So ultimately, Dr. SIGG'S, there's no AP biology. There's no AP anything in science, just for challenge science kids. So if a child elects to take the regular science class and does well in it, they can be in the same 9th grade class as a challenge science kid who also did well. Is that correct?
That is correct. Right.
Okay. So go ahead.
Yeah. So that the reason that we want to make sure you understand that is because some parents think that in order for them to get a certain, to get in honors biology, they have to do that. That's not true. Or there's some sort of secret class out there that's available for kids in 9th grade that, if you take challenge science, you get into. Okay, there's the benefit that this course provides. Okay, is really it was based upon us as a group, you and me and a couple other science teachers. We were looking at our kids' performance over a period of time. I'm not talking a couple years. I'm talking a decade. Yeah. And it was our science is our hardest course. There's no doubt about it. Okay, half the year physics, half the year chemistry. It's okay. It's very abstract. It's a challenging course. Okay. And what we were seeing is we had a lot of kids that weren't doing well, and we had a small segment of kids that were doing great. Okay. And so we said, okay, well, how can we begin to fix that situation where kids aren't doing well? We took some steps to make sure that we could address that. And then the next step was, what can we do to, and make something a little bit more challenging for students that have been doing really well. And so we went back and forth on this, okay? And basically we came up with this concept of challenge science. That's the name of it. True. It's a 1-year opportunity for a kid, okay, who satisfies the 3 requirements listed in the letter. Okay. And that's really what it boils down to. We want to give you an opportunity. And with STEM being a big thing, 7, 8 years ago, right? This kind of fell, this was part of our thinking to say, let's offer this to our students. They're already getting accelerated, if you will, in mathematics. They're doing great in our regular, physical science class. Why not try something different for them?
Absolutely.
So that's how this came about. Okay. So when you look at the letter, there are 3 criteria that we want to have. Okay. And I'm going to walk through them real fast. 1, you got to be a good math student. Well, guess what? If you got the letter, you're either taking, you're outright qualified for Algebra 1 coming into 8th grade, or you're going to be taking geometry in 8th grade. So, you are some of your top math students, and what you've been able to do, okay, by, testing into these courses, in 7th and 8th grade, is you have demonstrated the ability to deal with abstract concepts. Okay. And when you think about it, right, it makes sense that these kids would do well in chemistry and physics.
Absolutely.
In many ways, it's significantly abstract. Now, you guys try to make it come to real life, right? But there are a lot of things that you're going to be discussing that kids are going to have to be able to conceptualize, in their brains, right, and not really understand it. And so, in a real world, at least in the beginning. And so that's why those kids were doing really well. So you have to be a good math student. Okay, so that's checked off the box. They're here. Secondly, what these students have to do is they have to enjoy science. Like if you would say to your son or daughter, what is your favorite class? If they're not saying math and science, then okay, that says something. Okay, like if science doesn't just roll right off their tongue and that's one of their top ones, then what I would do is I would take a second to think. These kids have to enjoy science because they're going to spend and commit a lot of work to the class, right? And we all know as adults, right? If you love what you're doing, you're going to be willing to give that time and that effort. Okay. Now I'm going to say something. This is the 3rd time we've done this video. Is this correct, Mr. Parsia?
Yes, it is.
It's the 3rd time because
We
redo.
want to make sure it's right.
We do this video because we get, I don't want to say we get frustrated. We are saddened, okay, every year because we try to put all the information out to people because this class is not for every student. Okay, it's not. And what we want to try to do is we want to make sure that the students that are in there are there for the right reasons. And at times what we see kids in there that struggle. And that bothers us. It really does because they're great students. They're super nice kids. They're not used to, experiencing this. The pressure of the people around them. Now they start to feel bad because they're not doing as well. And so like when we say that kids have to love science, they have to really want to do it. Mom and dad are not taking the class. And just because mom and dad love science doesn't mean their child has to do that. And that really is an important part. So 1, good math student. 2, got to love science. And 3, we really want to see these kids have these certain intangible skills. Okay. Here are some examples of what that may look like. Okay. You want to have a kid that is a self-starter, does not need to be told to do their homework, does not need to be told to study, actually enjoys the process of learning and is willing to commit the time and effort and energy to learning, dedicating that time.
And I think, Dr. SIGG'S, a lot of people do know us and some don't. We're both parents too. Of kids around this age or older and younger. Really, and I look at it as if your child does their thing and you let them go and they do all their work and they've been successful, and you're right, self-start, that's a really good sign. And they can get their work done and they're very self-disciplined. I think that's a really good sign, one of the good signs for the class. You're right about that.
That is correct. The other thing that you want to make sure is that the student has a really good regular attendance in school.
Yeah.
Okay. They have to be coming to school. Okay. And if they're not coming to school for a whole host of reasons and they miss a lot, this is not really a good situation for them right now. Once again, if they don't take challenge science in 8th grade, okay, because they, and they struggle with certain things, it's no impact for them down the road. There is nothing that's going to get in their way in ninth grade in terms of choosing their class. Okay, so that's the part where people got to take some time and think about that.
And I can see, and I can empathize with some parents and see, oh my gosh, my child may be behind. I got to be honest with you guys. We do teach a lot of stuff in this course, and I'll get to that, but everything's retaught again. You know what I mean? They're not going to, they really don't differentiate between a challenge science kid and a regular science kid. They're going to teach the curriculum. So they're going to be afforded the opportunity to learn it. So it's almost like you're not behind. Does challenge science help? Yes, if you do it well and you play the game and you do have all these, sure. But listen, it goes back to what you said, Dr. SIGG'S. Kids got to want to love it. They have to be really good in math. I mean, dominate. Intangibles, and one thing I just want to touch upon is reading comprehension. Honestly, I've done so many studies with grades through the years. A lot of you parents know that. I've really found, and I can't really tell this year because it's been a different year. A lot of kids in the fourth marking period in reading in seventh grade actually do eighth grade level reading in the reading class. And I noticed that students who struggle in challenge science, there's been a struggle in the fourth marking period in reading, and that's been in the past. I really haven't been able to extrapolate that data recently because of COVID and everything, and not even this year. But reading comprehension is huge, and just being able to comprehend a high volume of information. The teacher covers so much material in one period, where you take notes as quick as you can, rewrite them, understand, apply. You've got to be able to process fast. So that's something else you want to consider too. But please keep in mind, it's okay. You can take the bio class next year in the regular class. You're not behind. It'll be taught again. Just always think like that. The high school does a great job.
Yep. A couple other things that we want parents to be considerate of. Okay, some other intangible things that are really important is your child's ability to manage their time. Okay, and we talk about this quite a bit. As kids get older, the amount of time that is required for their academics and extracurriculars gets bigger. Think about it. When they were 5 and 6 and they were going to the softball practice or baseball practice, it was 45 minutes to an hour, right? Now all of a sudden, there's more time associated with it. Kids that are good basketball players play for a school team and multiple AAU teams, right? I mean, that's what starts to happen.
Yeah.
So you have to look at their ability to manage that. You got to look at what's important to them right now, once again, and knowing, okay, well, if I don't take challenge science, I'm not behind it in any way, shape, or form when I go to enroll in ninth grade or schedule my classes in ninth grade. The other thing I want to touch base upon is this. Another intangible skill that kids need to have is just really a desire to want to learn and to, they love science. They want to be challenged by science. They see the big picture. Like this experience, okay, it may cause them, and we have no problem sharing this with you and them, there's a good chance they're going to get a B in a marking period. It really is. Okay. I mean,
in fact, Dr. SIGG'S, in our previous two takes, the fact you said that in normal years, non-COVID, the breakdown average was about 35, maybe at most only 40% of a whole roster, if that, get an A for the year. Mm-hmm. And about 40% or so get a B. So 80% get an A or B, but it's not like, it's broke. Most kids get Bs, and then the rest get Cs, Ds, or Fs. And that little subgroup down there, we want to see that reduced next year. That's why we're having this video. But again, you said it. It's not an easy A, and looking at the big picture is going to be important.
That is correct. And so the reason I'm pointing that out to people is, like I said, there's a real good chance that you might get a B. Okay, and if your goal is, or this is important to the student or the parent, that I make distinguished honors. Okay, you got to be prepared that may in fact not happen. I mean, that is a reality. It's not a threat. It's not trying to scare you or just tell you not to do it. I'm just telling you that's a reality. That's something people need to talk about. Okay, and the reason I'm saying that to you is these kids are, many of them, because they are so good, they expect a lot from themselves and they put a lot of pressure on themselves, and many of them are perfectionistic when they do certain things. Okay, and so with that, once again, I'm going to hit a touchy subject, but this is the reality. We are seeing kids that are coming into school with, some anxiety issues, some mental health issues. Okay. And so, your child, we don't. Okay. And will there be some pressure that they might feel? They're going to feel pressure just because of the workload in general of 8th grade, not just, you add on a challenge science course. If they're in algebra or geometry, that's a high school course. I'm sure they're taking Spanish 1 or French 1. That's a second high school course. English is going to require them to do an awful lot of writing. We have to prepare them to be successful writers. There's a lot of writing. We have great English teachers here. They will break down that writing process, and there is a lot of that taking place. That's 3 tough classes right there.
Yep.
U.S. history, that is a course that is causing some concern with people right now, because kids, they're not really necessarily used to have to studying for social studies.
And that's a course with a high volume of information, right? With a lot of historical facts and data.
Yes.
And I know, and again, I'm a parent, even though it's a COVID year for me as a parent, I still see, in certain classes that English, there's a lot of writing and a lot of reading of a lot of complicated books and a lot of writing about it. So it is a lot of work. And you add that into a normal year with even regular science, it's a lot.
Right.
You want to put your own science on top of that too. It can be cumbersome.
Right. And so some kids that are, demonstrating a little bit of fragility at that particular point in time, you know your kid best, and you know their background and what's been going on with them. Maybe this is not the right time. Once again, they don't take challenge science. They're not behind the 8 ball if they would want to, go into 9th grade and take that honors biology. So that has to be. I'm going to keep saying that so you understand what that means.
Yeah.
Okay? The other thing that I want to point out about an intangible before I turn it over to you, Mr. Garcia, is this. Okay, this year, this COVID year, okay, is a year that I think concerns you as a parent, me as a parent with my kids. I got a kid going to college next year. I got a daughter going into 10th grade. Okay, what do I feel about the education that they received? Okay, well, to me, it's one of those situations where everybody made the best of the situation that they could. Okay. And what you saw teachers and kids go through each particular course curriculum. Okay. But, when they do that with the limited number of, if you will, assessment opportunities. So in other words, kids were going through it and they were able to do things with their resources. They had resources available to them. So if I didn't know something, I could very easily look it up. Okay. If I had a question on a take-home quiz or whatever, and I didn't know it, I could look it up.
Or FaceTime a friend. Yeah.
Exactly. I could
ask a friend.
Yeah, I could ask a parent. We could all, I could have 5 people sitting in my living room. We could do it that way, right? So while I appreciate kids that were willing to, invest the time to do that and make sure they're getting good grades, the reality is that when there's a huge difference between that and then students really having to, work with and study and practice and make mistakes and then relearn, right, if you will, or learn a different way if it's not making sense. Okay, that skill set of really making that information their own and then being held accountable to that through some sort of assessment. And that was not happening. And even this year, towards the end of this 8th grade year, we had a few teachers that were willing and daring enough to say, what we want to try to do is offer, if you will, regular testing like we have done in the past. And I will tell you, okay, the kids' performance on that was not as good as what they thought. And it was a great experience for everybody because it showed those students, whoa, we have some things that we have to kind of relearn and kind of get back into it. We were really used to having those resources with us. And now we're going to have to make sure that we have the study skills and are willing to commit that type of time. That is, to me, a frightening thing, not just for challenge science, but for every course that our students are going to be involved with next year. And that's, like I said, that's from a parent point of view.
Absolutely. Same here. I'm in it with you too. As a parent, I'm worried, I'm worried of my kid going to high school and taking an all honors load. You hope they make good choices, and it's going to be a big adjustment going forward. And, I'll say this, Dr. Siggins, something else you got to think of, just being very familiar with teenagers, working with them for 20 years and being parents, they're very aware of, what they're very concerned about, what people think of them. There's a lot going on besides school, acceptance, in social groups, friend groups, social media. There's so many factors out there that as parents, we try to help navigate our kids through. And a lot of kids at home are different than they are at school and vice versa. So there's a lot going on here at this difficult age. It's a tough age for kids to navigate. And we also want you to think about that before you consider having them in a course that requires a lot of focus, a lot of self-discipline. And I'm going to say a lot of adapting to struggle with that first B, or maybe getting a D or F on a test, and how do you get better from it? And it's not easy. So we want you to take all of that into consideration to make sure that you're making the best choice, or more importantly, your child is making the best choice for themselves. Because again, keep in mind, you can start in 9th grade with the bio class that a lot of people want to get into, whether or not you take this class or not.
One more thing too, and then I'd like for you to just talk a little bit about the course. Not to spend too much time on it, but just kind of work your way through it. The one thing I do want to make sure that you understand is the reason that we do these videos is we want to make sure we get that information out. And what we would like to do is 1 year, just make sure that we eliminate those 5 or 6 kids that are in each section, okay, that are sitting there and they're getting, they're just, it's heartbreaking for them. They're not used to it. They give up on the course, and potentially what ends up happening is they get turned off to a really cool subject like science. And then they really, at times begin to question themselves. This is not a course where, parents have to sit down and your child, right? And I know we don't ever want to say to our kids, look, I don't want you to take on that challenge. But sometimes as parents, what we need to do is need to look at them and say, all right, I've listened to what these guys have said. Okay. These intangible things, how does that relate to my kid? And do I need to kind of step into the situation as the parent, say, maybe this year is not a good idea for you to do that, right? Maybe this year is not a good idea to do that. And so sometimes kids have to be protected from the, if you will, from their desire to want to do something when really they haven't demonstrated that work ethic all along that would allow you to feel comfortable that they could do it. At times, kids, when we talk to them about what has happened and why they're here, the other reason that we always hear, Mr. Parsi, is that they didn't want to do it. Their parents wanted them to do it. Yeah. So you got that dual type of situation there where, you got parents that will say, no problem, go ahead and take it. And some parents will force a kid in that doesn't want to do it. And, those are the heartbreaking ones, because, we're trying to put all this out. We want everybody to have an honest conversation and think it through. If you have any questions, you can call us. We'll talk you through it. But it is really sad for us when we see that take place. It really is. And we really want to try to help avoid that if we can, especially going into next school year from where we've been. Okay.
A big jump next year.
Yeah. So Mr. Parsia, if you could just take a couple of minutes and just let our families know a little bit about what the course is and the difference between that and the traditional, and there's really no difference curriculum wise, but
it's still chemistry, hardcore chemistry. And you'll see some examples in the videos that are provided on those links, and hardcore physics. And a lot of connection between the math proves the science. And there's not much memorizing. There's a lot of application, using math to justify these applications. And again, there is some recall, but a lot of the tests and pop quizzes are, here's a scenario based on what you learned. How does this scenario work? Justify with what you learned in the chapter. So it's not like, let me memorize this study guide and I'll get an A on the test. It's not like that. But I got to say something though, in terms of with the way the course operates. This is one of those courses where, like in September, you got to understand what you learned in September to do the stuff in October. And you got to understand what you did in September and October to do November, because everything builds. And the problem we run into, and I'm not trying to be negative, I just want to give a light example of why kids struggle. If your kid struggles on something, they have to have the self-discipline, and there's ample help offered. Science help desk, you'll hear all about that if you take the class. Can they fix their mistakes ASAP and adjust? Because the problem is kids avoid, and then we offer the help. They get so far behind that when I'm teaching stuff in November, December, I got to be honest, it's almost impossible to understand it, because there's so much they didn't understand earlier because they kind of gave up, didn't work hard enough, didn't use the tools they were provided. So this course builds. It really builds. Everything builds. So please take that into consideration. You know, always being accountable for strengths and weaknesses. And that's something we're going to work on a lot next year. And I can teach them how to do it, but they got to have the self-discipline to do it every day. So please keep that in mind. This course builds, and that's why the grades tend to drop a lot, because they can't come up with the final problem because they don't understand, you know, this previous steps to get there. So, and that's the way a lot of honors and AP courses are in high school. Things build. You have to understand previous chapters, understand new chapters. So just keep that in mind. Again, I'd say 35 to 40% of the roster may get an A, if that, on a normal year. A lot of the other kids get Bs, and then there's some few Cs, Ds, and Fs. And we've gotten very favorable feedback in regards to preparation for the high school. We have, and that if the kid does what they're supposed to, and also, but makes mistakes, but learns from them quickly, it's okay to make mistakes, but you got to learn from it. That's what we're here for. I got to be honest, they have a great year. It's tiring, it's brutal, but they have a great year. And, you know, we do get positive feedback in regards to preparation for the high school. So that's where I'm at in regards to what the course is like. I have to have kids who are self-disciplined, absorb a high volume of work, and also can handle a little bit of a setback, but fix it. You know what I mean? And there's support, and you'll see it. You got to be able to fix and adjust, and then you'll be fine. But that's the conversation you have to have with your child. Anything else you want me to add, Dr. SIGG'S, in regards to that?
Nope. I think you did a great job covering all that. So I think we're, at this point, the next steps for our families would be you watch this informational video that kind of gives you a little bit more than this. Okay. The letter that you received. We also are providing you the opportunity to look at 2 additional videos that Mr. Parcia, you know, he's putting up videos all the time that students are to watch outside of school, right? And then get ready to come into class and be able to perform those calculations and so forth in school. Called a little bit of a flipped classroom concept that has worked pretty well. Like I said, there is going to be an expectation. They're going to be giving a little bit more time than what the other kids would be doing. However, you know, they're going to move at a more rapid rate so they can cover more things in depth and maybe build on some other concepts as well throughout the course of the year. So hopefully this video was one that, once again, we're not trying to frighten you off. We're not trying to tell you that this is not worth taking. What we're trying to do is we want people to make an informed decision. Okay.
And I think, Dr. SIGG'S, you said it. I'm going to be honest. This is our 3rd take of this video.
Yes.
You know, and it's just, we just want to make sure we're doing the right thing in terms of conveying the message to make sure kids have a great year next year. We want kids to have a great year, and a great year can be had in challenge science, and a great year can be had in regular science. A great high school career can happen in challenge science, and guess what? A great high school career can happen coming out of regular science. Okay, it's all about what your kid does and the choices they make.
Okay.
Anything else?
I think that's good.
All good. All right, well, thank you very much. And if you do decide to take the class, you'll be receiving an email end of July, early August about a little bit of summer preparation work for the course that has to be done. There'll be videos to learn the material, and you'll get information about that over the summer once we get the roster. All right. So that being said, that's it. Thank you, Dr. SIGG'S. And once again, that'll be it for SIGG'S on the Spring 48th Grade Center on Demand Network, where it's all academic all the time. Thank you very much. And we look forward to meeting everybody rather soon. Thank you. Have a good day.